Welcome to Arsenal Above All, Champions League review show after match day 2. We have been turned over by Lons. Disappointing performance. I've got Steve of Osakwe to chew the fat with me tonight and obviously look ahead to the big one on Sunday against Manchester City. A bit to talk about, but before all of that, let's go. Welcome to the show, Steve. How you doing, man? After all of that,
boy, yeah, I'm all right, but yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good watch.
No, it wasn't. Disappointing after the performance at the weekend, and the weekend that was a great weekend with results kind of going our way, and lots of controversy as well with other matches. But going into this game tonight, so obviously Lens, the second game in the Champions League. Bit of trouble getting there in the first place with the weather. We arrived late, and then there was some sort of worries about that. But anyway, we got there, and the lineup came out, and everyone was obviously doing their proverbial, losing their nuts as they normally do, and trying to assess what the hell Arteta was doing and how it was going to shape up. And it looked pretty straightforward, didn't it, Steve? In terms of the lineup, maybe just the Tomiyasu coming in, and what do you think his reason was for that? Really, was it just to add a bit of physicality there, or was it just maybe just getting White out just for maybe his fitness issues or anything like that?
I think it was a bit of both. I think, like I said, Tomiyasu, I think everybody agrees, is a good one-on-one defender. So we knew that them being the home team will try and exploit any sort of weaknesses in our defence. I don't think Ben is a weakness, but with how he's played and the amount of minutes he's played in recent weeks, is probably Arteta probably think it's the time to give him a rest, to be perfectly fair, and give Tomiyasu a chance. I've got problems with that. I like Tommy. I think he's a top defender. So I've got no problems with that. For me, the one that is, again, I get it. I do get it, but it's the Havertz one. I still don't get it. I still don't get it.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So obviously we started the game. Obviously, really great atmosphere there. They were waiting, 21 years to get back in the Champions League. Obviously, we're still kind of buzzing from our return to the competition. And as you expect, the first 5-10 minutes, pretty hairy. The team trying to get their foot into the game. The home fans, roaring them on. And it was basically the old European thing. You try and keep them quiet for the first 10, 15, 20 minutes. And I thought we were doing an okay job. We were just gradually getting more and more control, which is going to be a key word, I think, in this one. Control of the game, and obviously the goal, which obviously came through Jesus, came from us. Obviously, a mistake from them. But my worry in that first half was just the way we had a lot of possession, but in the last third, we weren't really playing any risky passes. It was almost like no risk. Like offense, we just weren't trying to get anything down the sides. It was all in front of Lens. But what do you think of that, Steve? Because I think a lot of people have kind of said we're missing that kind of cutting edge up top. What was your thought in just how we approached that first half, and obviously how the goal came about and the finish from Jesus?
Yeah, when we press and are aggressive in attack, we are more fortunate. We create our own chances and then get more goals effectively. We didn't do that. After the goal, especially, as you say, we played safe and we weren't you hear people talk about it all the time. We weren't brave enough. We weren't brave enough on the ball. We weren't. We were just playing things safe and just, as you said, Mike, just trying to control the game. I don't think the group stages allow you to control the game. You have to be brave. The Champions League is not all European competitions, from Conference League, Europa League to the Champions League. Everybody wants to win. So that whole thing of going, let's control the game and play it our way. No, you have to be aggressive. You have to be aggressive in the loose balls. You have to be aggressive in wanting to win. You have to be aggressive when you're pressed, and you have to be aggressive in attack. We offered nothing. I'm not going to lie. It was one of our worst performances in a while, to be perfectly fair. There were some key players that stood out, people like Declan Rice. But we weren't aggressive enough. And when you're not aggressive enough in these sort of competitions, you get punished. And that's what happened today. We got absolutely punished. We can't use excuses of anything. You're back in the Champions League. This is where you wanted to be. This is the competition that everybody wants to be in, and the competition that everybody wants to win. And if you want to win these competitions, you can't take any game for granted. You have to be, and I'm going to keep on saying it, you have to be aggressive. You have to take it to them and then win the game. And you can't. There's no point trying to control the game when you have to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think after we scored that, great finish from Jesus. Really tidy finish. We scored that goal, and we just start controlling it. Zinchenko's playing some great passes around the place. He was more of our creative outlet, I thought, than someone like Odegaard was. Odegaard was again playing it very safe. He didn't really show up at all tonight, which is a worry that he kind of could, levy the same about him in the North London derby, and obviously he had a lot to play, in the Bournemouth win, but he didn't really feature tonight, and he was dragged, before, when we were trying to chase the game again, which is always a worry for me, because again, Odegaard's normally the guy that you want to still be there on the edge of the box when we're trying to salvage something. But he didn't tonight. He got dragged. Maybe that was fitness issues, but that's a worry. And like I said, Zinchenko seemed to be the one that was more of the creative hub, and he played a great pass over to Havertz, who had that volley. Side-footed it, I think. In the WhatsApp chat, James was like saying if he hits that with his laces, he scores. And I think we were just talking just before we came on that it was almost, again, it's like the safe option that Havertz took in that instance. And again, there were a couple of instances in the game where there's one instance, I think after 5 minutes, where he had the ball and he played it back to Zinchenko, when again, if he was on the half turn, he could have turned and he could have made a run towards their back line, and he didn't. And this is not Havertz bashing again. We're just talking about a player who, again, is flatter to deceive. He hasn't brought anything to the table, and again, he got substituted straight after they took the lead in the second half. But we're obviously just fans, and we're seeing it from the outside looking in. And people say, you don't see what Havertz brings into the team. You don't know football, but what. Are you kind of worried that Arteta's favoritism in him, and even the substitution that he made, obviously when Saka got taken off for injury, which we'll talk about later? Do you think that's going to be an issue going forward? Because I'm thinking that shouldn't have been the substitution. It should have been Nelson, for obviously, which we will talk about later. But just the Havertz thing. I mean, is that still puzzling you? Still, the whole thing. The whole project, what do you want to call it?
Yeah, he shouldn't be starting, and that's, again, as you like you, Mike. I'm not here to bash Arsenal players, because at the end of the day, they're wearing our shirt and they're here to play for us. He's just not up to speed yet, and that's fine. It's going to take him a while. He's still adjusting to what we want, but as you say, that incident where he's passing it back is to do with his body position. So how you position your body to receive the ball is how you will what determines what sort of action you're going to take with the ball. When we look at the volley, for example, as you said, it was safe. As James said to you in the chat, if he puts his laces through that, it's hitting the back of the net. He didn't look confident, even when they slowed it down in the replays, and you can see his face. He's focusing on what he needs to do, which is get a good connection on it. When if you're focusing to score the goal, there's a different type of determination and steadier look on your face. He can't be starting right now because he is a passenger, and I think that does have an effect on the other players. So if we look at Odegaard, as you were saying, not his usual self. We look at Bournemouth and he was doing everything, and then the North London derby he wasn't himself, and then the game before that he was. He needs. When you've got somebody like that that's playing safe, you're finding that Odegaard is more. At some points, he was dropping a bit too deep when he wants to receive the ball in the final third and dictate the game that way, and then he's dropping in to get closer to Havertz to give him, passing options and stuff like that. So again, it just takes away something from his game, and his passing is not crisp. I remember when we were in the Wenger years and we were just going, the passing just needs to be quicker. It needs to be quicker. And his passing is not as quick as what we need it to be. We need that ball to be zipping around as quickly as possible. People like Rice and Havertz do it quite well. They're just quick balls, boom, boom, boom. You want to go. Zinchenko when he's on form does it as well. He does drop a couple of sloppy passes, does Zinchenko, but that's something else. But Havertz isn't offering us anything. Again, a game like today when you're going, you just scored your first goal for the club. Push on. And that means push on with effort and everything else. And after the Bournemouth game, Declan Rice was saying, he works really hard in training and stuff like that. Somebody that works really hard in training turns up. You're not putting in those sort of performances where you're not as. He doesn't look mobile. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't look mobile. He doesn't look fit. And I mean that in a footballing sense, he doesn't look fit enough to be moving around the pitch for 90 minutes or whatever, or to be starting a game. So, it was unfortunately for him another poor performance, but there was others as well.
Yeah, there were others. Yeah, I think probably only players that probably could come out of that game with any credit would be Saliba for me. I thought he was class. I think Rice was as well. I think Zinchenko was up until probably the first half. The second half he dropped off really, really big time. Maybe again that's because of the fitness and playing the games and the turnaround and what have you. But we scored the goal. Jesus scored a brilliant goal, and then we get to around half an hour, and then and prior to that, we're playing really well. We're popping the ball about. We're looking like we're going to get a second goal. And then obviously before the second injury, they equalise because David Raya plays a ball that was never on. For me, just looking at it, just wasn't on at all. And then from that, obviously there's a shout that there's a handball in that move. I saw it in the replay. There was no mention to it until after the game when they're doing the post game analysis. A guy handballs it and he moves his arm out to control the ball. So I don't know how UEFA, the VAR, they missed that. That's crazy. Unless there's a different rule. We know the VAR, the Premier League VAR is having a bit of a nightmare at the moment. But that's crazy, And I haven't heard Arteta's post-match comments. I'm sure he'll say something about that. But this is what we were kind of worried about. The whole Ramsdale and Raya situation. That as soon as someone does something big or big error, kind of biggish error, which leads to a goal or whatever, it's just going to give us ammunition to talk about it, and it's going to give other people who haven't got the club's best interests at heart, in the media, to use that to sort of create sort of content, create sort of confusion or whatever about the whole situation. And he was brought in for his distribution, and that was a bad one, right? I mean, he didn't have any pressure really put on him against Everton, and he looked great. Didn't really have any pressure put on him against Bournemouth, and he looked great. And I think the games where he's at PSV as well, and he looked great. Didn't no pressure in that one really either. But the games where he's kind of had a little bit on him, he's not been that great, has he? He flapped a bit against Tottenham, and he's flapped tonight with that pass. Or what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, the guy's bought him for his distribution, and if you're not distributing, then you're not offering anything. Again, you can say he's still settling into the squad, and he's still getting used to his teammates and their movements and stuff like that. But you're literally brought in for your distribution, and it's not the first time. The last time I was on mic, I mentioned his distribution and said, I think it was North London Derby, and I said, look, his distribution was poor. For a guy that's brought in for specifically his distribution, I expect more, and we as fans should expect more. For me, at the moment, he's not that guy. I would still stick with Ramsdale. Ramsdale's distribution is not bad. It's not actually bad. So if you brought somebody in for their distribution and what they can do on the ball to try and set up attacks and stuff like that, and at least 30% of those balls are going out or to the wrong person, and you're trying to pump it upfield to a smaller guy in Jesus or Eddie against a bigger defender. We've got nothing. You're not offering anything, and if that's, like I said, part of that you can say is down to the personnel up front. But you as a goalkeeper, and your team, that's going to be the case. So you then got to go, right, these shorter balls have to be crisp. They have to be clean. And when you're not under any pressure, that's a stupid ball to give away. I mean, it's cost us. That's putting too much emphasis on it. It has cost a goal. It hasn't cost us. What cost us was the whole team not performing to the standard.
Yeah, but what I think that incident and which got that goal did, what it did cost us was the control of the game, because up until that point we did have a stranglehold in the game. We kind of had a couple of passes, I think Trossard got in from another Zinchenko pass, and he's control. He didn't have a great game either, which was disappointing. He had that chance second half, and the keeper, he was like an octopus. Everything was just going to him, and he's sticking his hands out everywhere. But I just think that incident, when it just comes out of nowhere, where you just give the momentum to the other team, and obviously it got their fans up. The players with tails were up. They've scored a goal, at home in the Champions League. Yeah, just disappointing, because like you said, this guy's been brought in for his elite distribution, and then it's something like that. It's just, it's cost us a really sort of a big moment, because I think when you look at the way the table lies now, we're going to have to try and pick up a win away from home somewhere. And obviously the two games we've got away left us Seville and PSV, and that's not going to be easy at all, and that's on the basis that we have a strong home record. And again, we've got Lons who are going to come for a free hit, and Seville are going to be no mugs as well. They're going to be very streetwise, let's say, when they come to the Emirates. And so a few minutes after that, the thing that we kind of said that was going to happen, we've been saying it for a couple of years now, or between ourselves and others. Bukayo Saka breaks down, and looks like it wasn't an impact injury. It looked like something went when he was when we had our last attack, and he was trying to make the run back as well. And he got taken off, and it I don't know, it looked like they were working on his hamstring, but it doesn't look right good, does it, Steve? Especially when it was touch and go whether he was going to play against Bournemouth. He played against Bournemouth. He scored against Bournemouth, and then I think he got subbed eventually after about 78, 80 minutes. But I think everyone was like saying, we're 3-0 up. Kai Havertz scores his penalty. Take him off. Take him off. He doesn't need to be on. Take him off. You've got obviously tonight, and you've got City. Take him off. what are your thoughts? I mean, I know it's been like a broken record for you in terms of his management and the management of the manager and his minutes, but yeah, I'll hand it over to you. What's your thoughts on the situation we find ourselves in now with him?
Ultimately, he's our star boy, isn't he? Right. So ultimately, he's going to play a lot of minutes. It's the manager's job to manage those minutes. The Bournemouth game at 3-0 up, he definitely should have come off. Definitely, I thought he should have come off for 2-0, to be perfectly fair. But yes, he offers so much in today's game. Again, you go, right, he was touch and go whether or not he should start or not. His goal contribution and assist says to you he was alert and he was probably good enough to play. But Arteta's not managing his minutes. Like I said, of all the players, he's the person that's least likely to get substituted. Ødegaard comes off today. Do you know what I mean? With minutes left, and if Ødegaard comes off quite a few times when there's like minutes to play, despite what the score may be, even when we're losing and we're looking for a goal, he's our creative spark. Star boy, winning or losing, whatever, he stays on, and that's credit to the man, because he's an incredibly fit player. He's taking his knocks and he's coming back and he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm recovering. But at some point, the manager has to go, you know what, I'm gonna rest you for this one, or you're gonna play 60 minutes here, or I'm gonna bring you on just to keep you ticking over, sort of thing. But I don't need to see you playing the full 90 minutes. Both him and Southgate just go, okay, well, you're playing from start to finish, like regardless of anything. And then again, he pulled up today, and I promise I just thought the worst. There was an image of him, or like a short clip of him when he was coming to sit on the bench in the second half.
Yeah.
So there was nothing around his legs or anything. So hopefully that's a good sign. But you just never know. Yeah, like I said, he's our star boy, so I get it. But the manager has to manage that and manage his minutes. You've got players that need minutes and need to play. In order to get them up to match fitness, and I always call it match fitness is in playing time and getting minutes, so you can go, right, you know what, I'm going to start Nelson. And I've had people go, yeah, but Nelson plays on the left. I'm like, yeah, Nelson plays on the left, but he's a right footer, so he can play on the right. It's not like he can't play on the right. But you play him on the right, and then you've got an outlet. You've got somebody there that's not going to cut in, unfortunately, the way Saka does to get those shots and stuff. But he goes out wide to put in crosses. And yes, I know we've got no big man to put in a cross too, so it's neither here nor there. But we've got players that you can play, and we just need to start playing them, because he talks about trusting his players and this group of players and blah, blah, blah. But you've got to play them, and you've got to rest players as well. Saka never gets a rest. It's just unreal.
Yeah. It's, for me, the substitution of Nelson was of Vieira was the wrong substitution, because the commentary they were saying, you could see Saka wasn't there. Obviously, Martinelli wasn't there. There was none of that threat or running power in behind, which we know Saka can do, and obviously Martinelli can do. And without that, they just inched forward, especially second half. They just were on the front foot. They were pressing us a hell of a lot. And Vieira didn't offer anything. His passing was just always inside. He was never beating his man in any sort of race. And yeah, it was just again, it just didn't make any sense. And again, it sort of points to Arteta when it's really called for him to make adjustments, when things are kind of going away from him a little bit. He tends to get it wrong, more times than get it right, really. And that was a worry. I think Nelson had to have been the shout, because he's the only one we've got left in that sort of situation, that position to offer that attributes. The worry is that he doesn't kind of rush Martinelli back. But what are his options? The likelihood is he's probably going to play Saka at the weekend, even if he's 70%. He's probably going to play him, because he's just going to be left with what is he going to be? What is he going to be left with? In that kind of situation. It was a really frustrating second half because we didn't show up. Second half, apart from that Trossard chance, and we had a chance which fell to Tomiyasu from a corner. And then there was that big melee at the end when the keeper pretended he got fouled and he didn't, and the Lens players all just used that to push and shove and waste a bit of time. But are you worried about the way we just tailed off in the second half? Was that down to fitness, the accumulation of games, Steve, or something even more worrying in terms of the quality or lack of that we've got when someone like Saka is out and Martinelli both aren't there?
Yeah, I think Declan Rice said it in his post-match interview. It's not a fitness thing. We're 10 games in and we've still got potentially about 50 games left or whatever it may be. So no, yes, these games have come quite fast and quick. But it's no different than last season when we were in the Europa and people were like, oh yeah, but the players weren't really up for the Europa and blah, 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 blah. I said, no, you can't use that as an excuse. If you're not up for a game, whether it's the League Cup, the FA Cup, the League or Champions League game, if you're not up for a game, then you've got the wrong mentality for the club, because the expectation is to be ready for every single game at every single moment and to perform. That's, for me, that's a non-negotiable. You can't be saying that, it's only the League Cup and this, that, and the other. No, you turn up. You've got to turn up. So fitness for me is not an issue. You can't be using that as an excuse because we're 10 games into a season. We're 10 games into a season. Yes, you still have to, like I said, I'm still talking about people like Saka managing minutes. It's because we're 10 games into a season. They're trying to squeeze every potential minute out of him when you should be going, this is a long season. I'm going to need to know to take him off here and take him off there. I just think that second half, mostly we did nothing. We didn't offer anything. We didn't offer any threat. There was no movement. Lots of static players, just not moving about. We talked about the Vieira coming on for Saka thing. Doesn't make sense. If you're going to, Vieira comes in for Havertz, if you know what I mean. Otherwise, you've got another passenger on the pitch. So that leaves us with potentially 9 men because we've got 2 passengers just not affecting the game whatsoever. If you bring Nelson on, he at least gives you a wide attacking option should you need it, and that gives you a bit more movement and freedom. And you're looking at when it's Odegaard, Saka, and Ben White on that right hand side, and the 3 of them have a good understanding. There were times when Odegaard just wasn't getting an understanding with Tommy and especially when Vieira was on, because him and Vieira are quite similar in that they want to dictate the game, but Vieira's not up to that level just yet. And it's out wide. He's definitely not doing it out wide. He's not beating a man out wide. That's not his game. And that's not his fault. It's just not his game. I've talked about this before with other players. I'm going to mention his name, Mike. No, I'm going to mention his name. I'm going to mention Theo Walcott, for example. Come on, I've got to mention it. But he's not a winger. And people are going, oh, yeah, but he's got pace. He should be able to beat a man. No, he's not a winger. As much as we want him to be a winger, he's not a winger. He's a forward. And Wenger wasted him by playing him out of position. It was just going, and even then, he still helped out. Got some good assists with Giroud, some good understanding. He just sort of, if he was playing off Giroud, he would have got more goals to his game. Vieira's not a winger. He's a central player. He giving the ball in tight areas and in the middle of the park. You see his confidence grow, and then he'll be able to do something. Again, part of his education is to play out wide. You got to sort of get your speed up and your speed of thought up and stuff like that to try and understand the game. And I get that as part of his learning and development and stuff like that. But to bring him on in the game like this, away from home, with a crowd like they had tonight, which their crowd was fantastic, by the way. it's not that game. You can't do it. You can't do it. And
it's just really disappointing, just the way we kind of tailed off, and the decisions that were made by Arteta. Vieira just wasn't the right substitution, and it played into their hands. Just not on this physical aspect of it. In terms of, he wants players that are going to, he said so often, but he wants players that are going to win their duels. And Vieira, he's not that physical guy to kind of be in that situation, especially to be out on the touchline. Big night against a hyped up crowd against a fullback that was just on his toes all the time. But yeah, it's just a bad night really. We're not nothing from knee jerk. It's the first defeat of the season, but it's just the way we went about it, the way we just looked a bit rudderless. We had, I'll put up on here the stats, and it looks all rosy. 68% possession, but there wasn't that much done with it. Obviously it's shown that we've had 12 attempts to their 9, and 61 attacks and 5 corners there. But we just there was no cutting edge tonight, and I think there's only so long you can go in games like this, especially like tonight, where you miss people like Martinelli, who has that sort of thrust and to get in behind and drag everybody up, the pitch and keep them contained. And so that's why I think he's going to be kind of concerned, especially with Saka on the other side. He's going to probably maybe push him in for this game on Sunday, knowing that there's an international break. And we'll see if he gets pulled out of that, or whether Southgate selects him and he plays probably all 2 games or whatever. How many games they're going to play. We'll touch on the defending for the second goal as well, Steve. It was just poor all round, wasn't it? It was just total switch off on that side, and Saliba had a good game, but he didn't really cover himself. Him and Gabriel didn't really cover themselves in glory. They were just ball watching, and that cutback, their only striker was just their free. It was a good finish, but I think all 3 goals tonight were well taken. But yeah, their goal was well taken. You got to take your hat off to that. But yeah, just sloppy, innit? Just a sloppy. Sloppy action, sloppy. It was just, we've seen this before, haven't we? The bad old days, and just the way we kind of switched off and just give teams a way back into a game, and then we don't react, and then it's just a fight. And yeah, it was horrible tonight. It wasn't good. The only pleasing thing was that Seville didn't win, so it keeps things a little bit bunched up. But now it's like we've got to go away to one of those teams, like I said earlier. We've got to get a result out there. We have to. We can't lose any more games away from home. That's it. We've got to pick up 2 points, whether 2 draws or we pick up a win. But we can't be losing that there, or we'll be back playing Thursday night football again. We don't want that.
Look, ultimately, and I say this with a conscious mind, we could quite easily get turned over away at both teams, like quite easily, to be perfectly fair. Sevilla are a European team. They know how to do it. Yes, it always comes in the Europa League for them. The most successful Europa League team, I think, this century. But they won't be. We won't be going to them thinking, all right, we can get a win here. It's always going to be an easy game. It's not going to be an easy game. They will turn up.
Yeah.
PSV, yes, again, we comfortably beat them at home, but we're going to their ground. And as good as the Lens crowd were today, and they were fantastic, if that means I say it's not an excuse for anything, because we play in hostile grounds, you know, in the Premier League. We play in those sort of environments, and you do know how to deal with them, and you should know how to deal with them. You know, none of you are inexperienced players now. You know, you're players that have played Premier League football. You've gone to places like Anfield, you've gone to Old Trafford, you've gone to Newcastle, and you've gone to these places and had to see out, get results or whatever. And, you know, sometimes you've been fortunate enough to do it, and sometimes you haven't been fortunate enough to do it. But as good as Lens crowd were today in driving their team, it's up to us to then go, right, we need to do something to nullify that. And the whole thing about controlling the game, no, the only way you control the game is by putting them to the sword. And that means you go gun-ho. You can't, like I said, you have to be brave, you have to be determined, you have to be first to those second balls. Only Rice was in the middle of the park.
Yeah.
And he was, you know, a few times he had a frustrated figure because he was there going, come on, like what are we doing? Why am I the only guy pressing here? Why am I picking up these loose balls? Yes, that's what he's there to do, but he also needs others to do it as well. So yeah, it's not doom and gloom. Look, at the end of the day, it's one loss, isn't it? You know, it happens. It can happen to anybody. But we need to then look at this game and say, right, where it went wrong. That's the manager, especially for me, and how we put this right for the remaining group games. Otherwise, we will find it difficult to get out the group.
Yeah, totally agree. You know, Arteta's saying stuff about it's true that we did it great. Didn't generate enough of a threat in the final third, which we said it was obvious for anyone really. Like on many occasions, we didn't attack certain spaces. The difference to the PSV game was in the boxes. We missed some big chances and didn't defend well enough for their goals. Basically, he said on Saka's injury, it was an action. It was a back heel, and he felt something on this specific action. He was too uncomfortable to continue. And he says, and then they asked him how long or serious it is, and he kind of shakes his head, so he doesn't give an answer. He didn't, like you said, when they cut to him on the bench, he had the tracksuit on. He didn't seem to have any visible strapping like ice pack or anything on there. So I kind of hope that it's just basically going to just be rest up and he'll be all right. We've got an extra day on City. I think City play tomorrow. So I'm sure you get that extra day to recover. But no, Arteta will probably have him on the training pitch 10 o'clock on the Coley tomorrow. Seeing as the players landed or whatever. But yeah, let's finish on briefly on Sunday. What are your thoughts for this? Because obviously Pep's obviously got a bit of a bee in his bonnet, playing. You know, is it going to be 3 away games in a row? All the travelling that they've done. They're missing obviously Rodri. Kevin De Bruyne's not obviously playing in. John Stones, I think he's out and or touch and go. Same with Bernardo Silva. So if you want to play a City side, this is the kind of best time to meet them. What's your thoughts on Sunday and how we approach it? Because I think again last season before we played City in the league on both occasions home and away, we put in shocking performances really, and we've done it again tonight. It's always the game before. It's almost like subconsciously we've got that in the back of their minds, even though they won't admit it. But it's just like, you know, that little spectre of Pep is in, you know, Arteta's head, and it, you know, and whatever. You just want to make sure you get there in good shape, and we haven't. So, what's your thoughts on Sunday, man?
Sunday, look, every game is different, and every game is different. And yes, of course, look, the players would have had it in the back of their mind, but look, we get it, and it would have. Like I said, I think they bought into the hype of, you know, we should win this game, because what the Racing Club Lens manager was saying was, you know, oh yeah, Arsenal should beat us. You know, they're a great team, and you know we're nobody compared to them. And they sort of took their foot off the gas and just thought, yeah, this will be a turnover. You can't go into that. Going into the City game, it will be right, let's try and keep it tight, compact, and stuff like nullify them balls through and stop their runners and stuff like that. Can we do it? Yes. I mean, City lost to Wolves. City lost to Wolves. But you have to, as you said earlier, and which is what Arteta's saying, you have to win your duels. You have to be winning those one-on-ones with your players. If you're not winning them one-on-ones, regardless of who's missing for City, they've got a squad of top talented international players that have all won stuff together. You know, they're all Champions League winners, they're all league winners, they're all multiple trophy winners now for the majority of that squad. So it's not going to make too much of a difference. Yes, this is a good time to be playing them, but if you go into them with that mindset, this is a great time to be playing them, they'll turn you over. Like they're champions for a reason. They're European champions for a reason. It's because you can underestimate them and then get turned over quite easily.
Yeah,
quite easily. We have to be 100% focused. And if we do that, then we've got a chance. I looked at the Community Shield where we actually played them and did well to come back to get into that game and then beat them on penalties. So Arteta will be just going, we need to go in there with that sort of determination, that sort of drive and effort to come away with something. They're missing players, we're missing players. Us missing players is a bigger problem for us than them missing players is for them, if you see what I mean. So we don't have a Martinelli unless he gets back and is able to play some part of that game. Partey's back on the bench. He didn't get any minutes tonight, and that's good. You don't want to risk it so much, but hopefully you can slot in next to Rice.
I was going to say, because do you think, obviously against City in the Community Shield, he played Partey in midfield. Rice was playing as a left 8. Kind of as a left 8. Havertz was obviously played up front because Jesus was injured, and he played. Obviously, Timber was playing left back, wasn't he? So obviously, with what we've got now, obviously Timber's injured. I imagine it will be Zinchenko left, Ben White on the right. Some people are saying maybe Doku, because Doku plays on that side, he may play Tomiyasu again. Because of the physical sort of aspect of it. But are you, in terms of the options, if obviously Martinelli's going to be probably going to be Trossard on the left, does that mean Havertz has to sit out that one? If he puts Partey back in, puts Declan Rice as a left, and then Odegaard on the other side, is that how you would go?
Yeah, Partey, Havertz can't play. I'm saying it now, Havertz can't play. We can't have passengers on the pitch. In that sort of magnitude of the game. Yes, if you want to try and stick him up front, as you mentioned it, I can kind of see what he will do.
Put Jesus on the left. Jesus on the left and put Havertz up front.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did it in the Community Shield, and he could do. I don't think Trossard covered himself in glory tonight. He was pretty poor. I mean, he had that chance. And some people will say he could have squared it maybe to the far post where Jesus was there. But yeah, his touches, everything seemed to be off. He was getting lots of stick from the fans, obviously, because he's Belgian and obviously he's in France and stuff. But yeah, he didn't sort of, again, he was almost a little bit, he was not his usual front foot itself. He was more, he was played with the handbrake on, as Arsenal used to say. So yeah, I could see that, Steve. I could see him playing Jesus left again because he's done that the last couple of games with Eddie playing up front. Yeah, and then keeping Havertz in the team and playing Rice. But I mean, the midfield's going to be strengthened either way. If he does that, which I'm happy with. I'll be happy with Rice and Partey in there. With them not having Rodri and being up against Calvin Phillips, it's going to be would be good for Rice, because I think Rice has got his number really, because obviously playing for together and stuff. But yeah, so you're right. We can't feel sorry for ourselves. We have to sort of bounce back, because City are going to be like that as well. Regardless of what happens tomorrow, with them. They're going to want to bounce back because they got beat, as you said, against Wolves, and everyone's sort of had their fun with that. That the Korean guy scored, which Pep, I'm sure Pep has learned his full name and middle name and everything now. But yeah, so I agree. Yeah, we've got to bounce back, and hopefully the Emirates will be bouncing. I'm sure it'll be a good game for the neutral. But it's about time we turn them over in the league, and hopefully we can do that. But no, thanks for your time tonight, Steve. I know it wasn't the greatest one to talk about. Disappointing, always disappointing to lose, but just the way, as the adage always says, there's ways to lose a game of football, and tonight wasn't the one. But yeah, hope we bounce back on Sunday. So we'll be back probably on Monday evening with a review show of that, and hopefully it's a bit more. A lot bouncier and more jovial than this one, and
Sorry,
yeah,
I feel like I'm upside down here. Yeah, no. Sorry.
Yeah, that's Arsenal for you, isn't it? Bring you up and down, but no, it's been a good chat, man. I appreciate you coming on, and I know it's late and everything, and talking about that, and yeah, like I said, yeah, hopefully. The next show will be a happier one, and when we see Pep getting pelters like he did when he walked. I don't know if you saw when he walked off. He was in the stands, wasn't he? And there were Wolves fans like waving at him when he walked off. A couple of women were like, "It's like that's a bit cheeky," but yeah, hopefully there'll be a few more doing that on Sunday afternoon. But thanks, Steve. Thanks for your time. Thanks for listening and taking your time out to listen to this or watching this show. Obviously, as you can see on there, we can catch us on Acast, Anchor, Spotify. Please leave a comment, and we'll love the comments, and we can talk about anything that you want to pop in there. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday with a good chat, hopefully about a famous win. Where it could go top of the league off with that, which would be nice as well, going into the international break. We've done that before. Let's hope we can do it again. So thanks, Steve. Thanks for your time, and up the Reds.
Man, remember. Giroud into the box, and they have immediately